business?
I think so. Call the meeting back to order.
Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah, hopefully, I don't know what happened, we got lost again, but I'm calling you actually on my cell number just in case two landlines don't like each other, so I figured I'll just pick my cell phone up. If we lost again, then maybe, let me give you another number if you want to reach me if this happens again.
Just call back in again. We're having phone issues too, where if we call, it drops. So it's better if you just call.
Is he there?
No.
Maybe he's got my cell phone.
Technology, wonderful when it works.
Do you guys happen to know what the phone number is for that conference?
Hey, we lost him
Yeah, I gave my number.
before he could hand it out. Lost
Okay.
him.
We're going to try this on a cell phone. Let's see if this will work. We switched phone companies, and the switchover happened when the remnants of the hurricane hit the East Coast. It's been a mess. I think Garrick's given it until Saturday to get this figured out, or we're going back to what we were. We're going to break the contract because they're not helping us get this fixed. Granite. Could save us money, but you can't call out. We can call out.
We'll save his money if we can't do
What
business.
was all the next step vehicles around?
You got other parts.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
You got all those guys.
Good. Yeah, it's funny. It's like a bad connection, but it just cuts us off. I don't hear any static. It just cuts us.
Yeah, we're having phone issues, so I think it's probably on our end. But
Well, I tried on my cell phone as well, and it still happens. So yeah, I'm sure it is on your end.
right, so we're in the meeting and ready to go. If you're
All right. Well, I appreciate the time, so I'll just keep this short and sweet. Basically, my name's Larry Alsop with Ally Business Solutions. We've been doing phone bill auditing for, over 30 years. We're based out of Gardner, Kansas. And basically what we do is we look at local long-distance data, cellular, anything to do with phone bills, we audit. And actually, Bruce Shamey over at Kansas Association of Counties is the one that we were kind of partnered with. He was just trying to find a way to help the county save money, and we've been doing this for 30 years. And we've been very successful so far with working with other counties. And we work with a lot more than county. We work with schools, cities, hospitals, government agencies completely. But yeah, what we do is basically we scrub your phone bills for billing errors. And 9 times out of 10, we're going to find you something because the carriers just always, I don't want to use the word gouge, but always charge an extra fees that shouldn't charge, or sometimes, I don't know if it's deliberately or whatever it is, but again, they just can make it sometimes your bill 20, 30. Matter of fact, when we started 30 years ago, taxes surcharge on your phone bills sometimes made 5 or 10%. We're going into counties now, we're seeing 60, 80%. So every dollar you're spending, they're taxed with all these extra fees, and you guys are tax exempt in some areas, and you're still being taxed. So that's where we're going in and finding a lot of savings. And we go back and we used to go back like 5 or 10 years, but most of the carriers now are stopping us going only 2 or 3 years back. But still, we'll get you some money back. I can't tell you how much. It just depends. Sometimes it's just a small amount. Sometimes it could be like Harvey County, we did their audit. I think we're about 25,000 refunds so far for them. And we dropped their bill about 38% from what they're currently spending. But the process is really, really simple. We just collect 1 month entire bills for local, long distance, data, and cellular. We come back in 30 days. Here's a list of our recommendations. And what you guys accept, we implement it on your behalf. So there's nothing, again, from start to finish, maybe 2 or 3 hours. Your time is not much. But the process works. It's real simple. Like I said, we collect 1 month of bills. We present it to you guys. What you guys accept, we implement on your behalf. And we report back to you maybe every other week where we're at. And the nice thing about how we get paid is on a contingency. So if we can't save you any money, we walk. But for example, like on recommendation 1, on the say, who's some of your carriers? Who's your carrier down in that area?
AT&T and Granite.
All right. So AT&T, for example, I'll pick on them. So, for example, AT&T, they've been overcharging on a certain surcharge for the last 2 years. There's a $3,000 refund. We say, hey, we'll go back to the bat for you and get that $3,000 refund from AT&T. Once you see that credit on your bill, Ally will bill you one time half, 50-50 split, so we'll bill you one time for $1,500, and you get the other $1,500. Recommendation 2, there's a fee that you've been overcharged. We can't go back and get recoveries, but we can at least stop, say that's $50 a month. Once that comes off your bill, we bill you half of that each month for a period of 25 months. So we'll bill you $25 each month for a period of 24 months. So as you see the savings, we bill it. So there's never no money out of your pocket. So it's really a win-win situation. The nice thing about it, we do a complete inventory too. We find stuff that sometimes that you didn't know you had, and we do reports and all that. That's where we get from the carriers and find out there's some fees or absurd lines that you may have never been done to, but you have, and they're buried in the bill. So we do that as well. So it's a really nice thing that it's a check and balance. I know we're going to save you some money. I just can't tell you how much we're going to go back, but we'll drop your bill probably at least 20-30%.
Is this all under contract or what? Do we sign a contract with you?
Yeah, so we sign you a contract, and it says you're not obligated at all. I mean, if you don't accept any of the recommendations, then we don't get paid as long as you don't implement our recommendations in the 24 months. But basically, you send us 1 month of bills, sign our agreement, and in 30 days we come back and present our findings. And again, everybody's accepted because everybody wants somebody back, so that's never been an issue. And then once you accept it, we go to work. The process is probably 90 days. So if we started, say, in September, which would be nice for you guys, but January 1, everything will be completely cleaned up, and your bill will at least drop 20-30%. On the recoveries refunds, I don't know how much it would be, but it could be big or it could be little. I don't know that. And that's basically it.
Do we want to table this to talk with Brett more on it?
Yep.
We're going to go ahead and table this till our next meeting, and one of our commissioners is out today.
Okay.
And we'll have Scott get back with you.
Yeah. Is there anything you need from me in the meantime?
Can you explain that 24 months again to me?
Yeah. So how that works is, for example, if like on recommendation 2, like I said, we say, hey, there's a surcharge, you've been overcharged from AT&T. Once that $50 comes off your bill, we invoice you half of that, which is $25 each month for 24 months. So each month you see the saving, we invoice you half of it. So it goes for 24 months. And in the meantime, you guys can call us if you have questions, or every 3 months we'll actually send us the bills to see if everything that we recommended stays off, and the second thing new charges come up. So you've got really us. I mean, with some of the companies we've worked with for 20-some years still. So it's so it's up to you guys how you want to do it. But it's a 24-month agreement, and again, it's win-win completely. Again, if you don't save any money, we don't get paid.
So is that on all different, say like AT&T and say Granite or someone else? Then you take a share
it
of each
doesn't
one?
matter who really it is. Is that what you're asking? Because
Yeah.
I mean, we work with throughout the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, we work
Yeah,
with
that's what I'm
thousands
saying,
of
though.
different carriers.
You'll take a share of each different one that
Right.
you find.
So each recommendation is for a period of 24 months. So for you, how much do you guys spend a month about, just roughly, you think?
I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you right now because we've changed.
That's right.
lately.
So, I mean, basically, if you guys are $5 or it's $10,000 a month, I don't know what you guys spend. But, I mean,
below
we're
that.
going to probably, if you spend $10,000 a month, we're pretty, on the low end, we'll save you $2,000. But, again, on the average of the last 2 years, we've been at about 32%. So that's where we're going to probably come out. We can save you, if you spend $10,000, maybe $3,000 a month.
Okay, well then, that's what we're gonna go ahead and do. We're gonna table it until we talk with our other commissioner and talk this over.
So, when is your next commissioner meeting?
30th.
The 30th.
30th. Okay. So, do you want me to be on that call that day, or do you want me? How would you like me to handle that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So, do you want to do like 10 o'clock on the 30th?
Yeah, that'll work.
Same. All right. And maybe this time you want to call me then, like this time.
Yeah, we'll try it. Hopefully we've got the things figured out by then.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm going to put you on the calendar for 10 o'clock on the 30th. Do you need a calendar invite, or are you just going to put that down?
I will write it down on our agenda.
All right. All right, perfect. All right, well, then I'll look forward to talking to you September 30th at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, bye.
Bye.
Well, if it'll work.
Yeah, I still don't understand the 24-month deal.
Well, I think
Is it going to save us $50 a month every month, or is it just $50 the first month and then we pay them $25 a month?
I kind
24 months.
of took it as it's going to save you $50 a month on that item.
But how do you know you're going to do that?
Who said? Okay, well, moving on then.
Are you ready?
How much are you going to save us?
Tracy Barton. Nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Larry Townsend.
Nice to meet you.
Larry Townsend.
Larry, Willie Martinez.
Nice to meet you.
Roger Paul.
And your name?
Tracy Barton.
Tracy Brown, absolutely.
We're not going to take a lot of your time today, but we have something that's pretty important to us and to you guys as well. I'm a county commissioner in Wallace County. I spent 20 years before that as sheriff of Wallace County. So got to meet and work with Greg Van Allen, of course Cody now, and you had some good people. Tracy, I'll let you give a little bit of your story.
Oh, sure. I just joined the Kansas Natural Resource Coalition within the last month, and I'm currently the senior administrator and in succession planning for Jim Carlson, who's the founder of the organization. And Jim is able to call in this morning. Would it be okay if I put him on the cell phone and
Sure.
on speaker? Would that be okay?
What we're working on right now is the lesser prairie chicken issue. You guys were involved in 2013, you remember when that came around. In short, federal wildlife and
Hey,
parks
Jim, it's Tracy. I'm going to put you on speaker here in the meeting. Okay.
wanted to list them as, I think it was endangered at that point. And I believe you guys had a resolution, clerk can tell you, in 13 as well as a lot of the other times. Well, that has reared its head again, and the federal wildlife and parks is wanting to list in Texas as endangered and threatened in our area. And it's important for my county and for me because it's protection of our landowners' rights, our tax base, that we don't lose land or ground to federal overreach. And so that's why I'm here. I'm here as a fellow county commissioner, and it's important to me, it's important to Jim and Tracy. Many facets to a commissioner job, and protection of our citizens and their rights is high on the list, and it's high on the list for me. As coming from sheriff, that was one of the main duties of sheriff was, people don't really know that, but is to protect our people and see that the Constitution is carried through. So, anything you want to say?
Jim, would you like to introduce yourself and talk a little bit more about KNRC to the commissioners here?
Sure, yeah. I hadn't looked at to see who was on the board. I've been to Cheyenne County twice over the past 2.5 years, talking to you guys about membership. And the last time I came was with Mike Calicrate. I don't know. Are there members of the board that remember that meeting?
And their short one today, Jim. So
Okay.
we've got William Martinez and Roger Falklander, right? And of course Scott, the county clerk, is here as well.
Sure. Yeah, and Scott may remember as well. We've been to visit you twice for membership in Kansas Natural Resource Coalition, and really what we're bringing before you is Cheyenne County does have a bird in this hunt, as it were. You are in the estimated, your county is in the estimated occupied range of the lesser prairie chicken. So and where that's at, if you look in your packet that hopefully you were provided, if you look in your packet, there's a few pieces that I'll walk you through here, and as part of this pitch. And basically what we're doing is we're asking your county, along with others, to join KNRC and be part of the coalition voice that works with Fish and Wildlife Service on the lesser prairie chicken listing. And so that's not the only item of interest to the board, or that may be. On the lesser prairie chicken listing, what happened is, just a brief summary of what happened in 2013 is Fish and Wildlife Service, that's a federal agency, proposed to list the chicken, and the KNRC we participated in that with a 2-day public hearing. We've had filings, both with the service and also with the Council of Environmental Quality. We did a lot of upfront work on that to demonstrate that the service hadn't done what they should have done procedurally, and to actually make that decision. Well, they made the decision to list the lesser prairie chicken as a threatened species, and then and that was over a 5-state area. So that would have been Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Colorado. Then there was a lawsuit in the filed by the Permian Basin Petroleum Marketers, and we participated in that with a friend of the court brief, and the court vacated the listing, which basically said they threw it out, which is really rare for a court to do that on a listing of that nature. So the environmental groups came back, they petitioned again for the lesser prairie chicken to be listed, and that's where we find ourselves now. And in May of this year, they went out for comment and procedural, and I know I'm getting into the weeds a little bit, but I'd like the board to understand the importance to the county, to Cheyenne County, of what we're doing here. And so the Fish and Wildlife Service went out and they went out for comment, and now they're considering whether or not to list the lesser prairie chicken. And there's 3 pieces of decisions they'll make. or there's only one of three decisions they will make. And so anyway, in your packet, I'll walk you through your packet, and then share with you what we're doing on that. But there's a January 5th letter. That's your first page to KNRC members and clerks, and that's the letter we send to our membership every year. The reports in detail, very well written. Doesn't put people to sleep, or hopefully it doesn't. If it does, that's actually another benefit. But on the health side, so you have your lesser prairie chicken listing we reported on. KNRC participated in litigation with Pacific Legal Foundation was our law firm. That's their public interest. They paid the bill, and so 14 counties signed up to be part of that. We have a Rails to Trails program, and I don't think Cheyenne County was part of the Rails to Trails program, but part of membership is we have a Rails to Trails accountability program that was extremely successful, and it's now a formal program that comes with membership. And if you know anything about what happened in Phillips County and Decatur and Norton County, we were instrumental in equipping the public record on some of the issues there that caused that trail to be vacated. And then down in Clark County, which is really that's in the southern part of the state, our Rails to Trails accountability program there, basically the problem with rails trails, and we're not against rail trails, so I want to make sure I make that clear. In Clark County, the problem is you have these trail providers that don't pay taxes, and they let the weeds grow, and so there's a problem with maintenance. In your urban areas, there's also a problem with vagrants and those kinds of things cutting across private property. So those are part of the issues. But in Clark County, we helped that county write letters to Sunflower and Rails to Trails Conservancy, and ultimately they vacated the entire alignment through Clark County, and now that trail alignment is reverting to landholders. So they were really happy about the landholders are really happy about that. That's ongoing. The next page down is the Lesser Prairie Chicken Conservation Study Plan. I'll touch that, and I'm only going to talk about 2 more minutes, maybe 3, and then I'll turn it over to questions. So I'm not going to take too much of your agenda time unless you ask questions. So stay with me there. But there's on the Lesser Prairie Chicken Conservation Plan. This is part of a program that our members did in 2013, and we have a very positive relationship with Fish and Wildlife Service right now. And we're proposing, as part of comments that we just generated and put into the public record. And oh, by the way, we also participated with comments with Pacific Legal Foundation, telling the service that they have to do an economic analysis. We know they're not going to do an economic analysis, and when they don't, then we have set up the public record so that something may be actionable. And that's code for possible lawsuits. This conservation plan is part of what we'll be revising, and KNRC has proposed to the service to hold a permit that our member counties now can participate in, and then local landholders can enter into voluntary conservation for the prick chicken, hopefully get paid for it, and their information will be safeguarded. And that's huge. That's huge. So KNRC would hold the permit under this idea. Our counties would participate at some level, not too onerous from the administrative standpoint. And then landowners could participate in conservation. Now, the benefit for that is that it may be that Fish and Wildlife Service decides not to list the lesser prairie chicken, and that decision will come down next May. So that's that. If you go to the next page, there's the O Pioneers National Heritage Area. Have you guys heard about the National Heritage Area, or I guess I should say, how much have you heard about it?
No, I haven't heard of it, no.
They're both saying no.
Okay, so the National Heritage Area that's up there in the northern part of the state, there were 10 public meetings on the NHA that got everybody all upset. There are counties to the east. Okay, so Cheyenne County is not in that, but it's a big deal. And then we've also been monitoring. You go down to the bulletin, and that's the historic trail. That there's Senator Moran and Marshall have sponsored legislation for a national historic trail, kind of like the trail that the trail that goes along 50 Highway. I'm drawing a blank here on the name, but this goes through Clark County, through Ford County, Hodgman, up Finney, and then up through Gove, and then through Rollins and Sheridan as well. And that's a very significant for private landholders. So in two things there, if you go to the last page in your packet, the federal initiatives, they're affecting western counties. We're going to hold a webinar for counties that are considering membership, and we're rekindling the coalition. And so we're bringing more counties in. We're informing them of the value, and we're going to have a webinar that talks about these things in detail. It'll be about an hour and 15 minutes, and there we'll have some questions and answers. So with that, I'll stand for questions. There's a lot of positives to KNRC membership, and really we're hoping Cheyenne County will consider and participate in KNRC.
Jim, this is Larry. Would you tell them a little bit, because I think maybe about the 2013 and what KNRC was able to achieve then? I think that would help you guys. You're not really familiar with that.
With the Lesser Prairie Chicken.
With the Lesser Prairie Chicken, yes.
Well, maybe I'll toot our horn a little bit. There is no coalition of counties in the nation that has done what KNRC has been able to do. And I know that sounds like big talk, but if we're recognized for our quality of writing, our research, and our administrative work, and that's because we really work hard at studying the issues. And basically our soundbite is that we use the authority of local government as a check and balance on higher government, and it works. And so in 2013, we had a public hearing on the Lesser Prairie Chicken that really put a lot of pressure on Fish and Wildlife Service because there were things that they just were not doing. And so we called attention to that in the public record and also had our own narrative, and it was really powerful. And so we met, and we had the opportunity to meet with the Secretary of Interior, and that would have been in 2014. We met with the Secretary of Interior and Fish, because that Fish and Wildlife Service is a sub-agency under the Department of Interior, and they're very interested in what we had to say, and our work affected policy. And so membership dollars we represented our counties in a very positive way, and the other thing that's really I think good for individual counties is when they participate and they come to our meetings and they participate in our webinars and they become informed on what we're doing. It takes some of the mystery out of these federal initiatives, but it also equips you academically to understand what's going on, because this is a labyrinth of it's very difficult to understand the nuances of administrative programs, and you have staff working for you that are really good. And so in 2013 we did that. We used local authority, collective local authority, to equip the public record, and that was used by the court in West District of Texas to vacate the listing. And other things. We're doing a bunch of other things too. So not just Lesser Prairie Chicken or National Heritage Area or trails. We also monitor and report. So did that answer your question there, Larry? I can't see the groove.
Yes, We're an association of counties. We're not, this isn't owned by somebody else. This is counties that join for the purpose of protecting our landholders, our tax base. And when I became commissioner this year and KNRC came to visit with us, I knew it was something I wanted to be associated with. So you guys have some questions for Jim, please.
I'm going to have to study it a little bit. I guess I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay.
I don't either.
Yeah,
Pretty new to me.
I'm sorry.
I don't have any questions right now because, like I said, this is the first time I heard of it.
Right. And we have a website that's https://knrc.org. There's a lot there on conservation easements. I have a 5-minute video that we did that, I mean, it's really informative, and it's also could scare away crows if you got problems with birds in your garden. And I want to take a moment to tease Larry. Larry's from Wallace County, and one of the things we're definitely asking you for money. The dues is $5,000 a year, and we recognize that's a lot. So there has to be value there. But Larry, to tease Larry a little bit, Larry's a commissioner in Wallace County, and gosh, I don't know, Larry, I mean, so you guys have as many deer as you do people. And so we have counties that have modest budgets that really see the value. So we're really wanting to add value to protect your tax base, to look after your private landholders and your businesses like Calicrates, right? Calicrate knows a lot about this, Mike does. And so he'd be one to ask if you're, if you go down to the shop there, his sandwich shop. So there's another person to ask.
And am I correct, Jim, that they did a resolution in 2013, correct, Cheyenne County?
Are you saying did they do a resolution for opposing the lesser prairie chicken
Yes.
threatened listing?
No.
No, didn't. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I don't think Cheyenne participated, but it wasn't out of concern. It was more of we just weren't able to get to all those northern counties just by virtue of time and resources, because it takes quite a bit of resources to come up and to pitch counties on membership, and I don't think we were able to get to them.
So are you looking for a membership for 2021?
No, I'm glad you brought that up, Commissioner. If you were to say, hey, Cheyenne County wants to join, we'll bring you in 2021. We won't charge you for 2021. The membership would begin in 2022. So in other words, you would already be part of the coalition. We'd be informing you and incorporating you into the conservation plan and the mailings and all the information in 2021. But so you would get membership all the way through 2022, the end of 2022.
Because I know right now we wouldn't have anything budgeted for this.
Right.
You wouldn't in 2022 either.
No.
But is it conceivable that you could participate in 2022 and that budget item?
I don't see it until if we were going to, I wouldn't see it till 23 because our budget for next year's already been proposed.
Right, and that, I mean, we'll take we would accept that, but really what we need is we want to build the coalition in 22, because that joint voice, this is what part of the power from our standpoint is. When we go into a meeting with Fish and Wildlife Service, we say we have these members, we have 30 members, a geographic third of the state. And also it helps us with our operating budget, and which isn't large.
No.
We operated this year just to give you a little insight, we operated this year on $48,000, and that was we gave our members a dues reduction because of COVID, and we understand where they were. So we're not just money out, we're information in.
And you're welcome to attend the webinar that we have in October if you'd like to learn more, and we would welcome you to that.
Yeah, please join that, and you'll understand it. After this, it'll make more sense to you now to watch the webinar.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for setting aside time and listening to our pitch.
I think we went a little long too.
We're
Sorry.
short one of our commissioners because of a tragedy in their family, and I wish he was here. He's a staunch hunter and environmentalist himself that went away.
When you say environmentalist, are you saying a conservation person, or someone that really is interested in property rights and balancing?
Wrong word. So.
And I think that's something agriculture and western Kansas in general share is we like our animals, we take care of them, we don't. And that's why I think that the decision belongs with us.
Right. But we also have to participate because federal agencies do. They're the ones coming to us with initiatives in our lands. And that's why it's important to be proactive and to use our local authority to let them as a check on them, because I mean, and I know this will come as a surprise, but Fish and Wildlife Service often doesn't do what they're supposed to do.
So I understand you that the rails to trails, you kind of oppose those. You try to get that land back in the landowner's hands.
What we did is we came out in Phillips County or Clark County. What we did there is let's use the Clark County example. In Clark County, you had a Sunflower Rails to Trails Conservancy had a permit through Surface Transportation Board that they said, we're going to build a trail across Clark County. Everybody got excited about that. This was like 15 years ago. Everybody got excited about that, and they wanted to do it, and it was a good thing. What happened is that over time, Sunflower Rails to Trails Conservancy didn't have the money. Building trails are expensive. They couldn't raise the money. And they took the position they didn't have to pay taxes on the alignment across the county. And that's where all of these trail providers in Kansas take the position that they don't have to pay taxes. And the same is true for weed control. And so the weeds were going uncontrolled there in Clark County, and to a point where, if you remember the fires in 2016 or so in Clark County that just raged across Clark County, that they killed a bunch of trees. Those trees washed off into a ravine and threatened a county bridge. And so we documented that and said to the Conservancy, you guys got to clean this out. So they didn't want to pay taxes. They didn't want to do their maintenance on a major railroad trestle that they had taken responsibility for. So really what we are is we're holding the Trails Conservancy to account for their permit with the federal government. So it's really just saying be a good neighbor.
Is the Rails to Trails kind of funded by the federal government or not? Or is it state?
No, the permits are issued by Surface Transportation Board, which issues permits for railroads. But they're privately funded through nonprofits.
Because I know we have a railroad goes through almost our entire county that's basically been abandoned.
Right. And so one of the things that the Rails to Trails Accountability Program would benefit Cheyenne County is that you could, and we would work with you now. You could look into that, and it may be possible for you to get, I don't know which railroad, if that's K&O, but it's possible that you could get that railroad to revert back to landholders through your Rails to Trails accountability program. Your clerk could also look in and see if the railroad's paying taxes on those parcels, and I'll bet you diamonds, dollars, or chalk, the Cheyenne County is not getting tax money on those alignments.
That might be, but all the elevators are sitting on railroad property and they're paying leases and not receiving any rail
Service.
That's right. And so this would, and part of your membership, let me share this. KNRC used, when we have like 30, let's pick a number, 30 counties, we used to offer 10 hours of research, technical research for each member a year as part of their membership. And then that we would, we could look into that, assuming we had the budget for staff. But we could look into that and say, and work with your clerk, and on whether taxes have been paid, who owns it, and here's the situation, and bring that to the board and say, listen, there may be value here in an initiative in contacting the railroad. We did that also in Hodgman County, and we identified issues in Kiowa County.
Pretty good politician, isn't he?
Well, that's the best thing. He isn't a politician.
Me?
Yeah.
Boy, this conversation isn't going well if you're calling me a politician.
They reverted to name calling pretty quick.
Well, thank you for your time.
So anyway, we'll let you go. Thank you for, I know we've been taking a lot of the board's time. How can we set up another time it's a long way up there, can we set up another time to bring this in front of the board, maybe even get it on your consent agenda?
Maybe when your other commissioner's here that...
Yeah. I'm gonna have to, like I said, I'm a little concerned about our budget. I can't see us getting in 2022. Unless we...
No, that budget's already been proposed.
Well, it hasn't been approved yet. But.
Yeah, and also, we'd like to speak with our other commissioner and give him time to think about it and look at it, so maybe the first meeting of next month, you think?
What about if you participate in the webinar, that's in October, that would allow time for this. And then after that, there may be
October
something
is that?
we could do.
I think it's right here, down here. isn't it?
October 21st, yeah. From 10 to 11:30.
Would be the last meeting after that.
I would think the 29th?
29th.
I think the 29th of October to be after the webcam.
I'd really encourage you to watch that, and like I say, with what you learned today, you'll think about it, and it'll make a lot more sense.
A lot more sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Should we set a time for that, Scott?
It was 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
Again.
Yeah, that would be great.
Was the last one for 10?
And I'll leave this for your commissioner. I apologize. There you go.
Well, we thank you for your time.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Have a good day.
I understand you had a loss too this week.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I take it you're Peggy Pratt? We'll be ready for you then.
I have a note that Paula's not available, so she won't be here today.
Oh, okay. Nice to see you. like one?
What's that?
Would you like a paper?
I'm a spectator. Normally,
Oh, okay.
next one, I can't hear them most of the time.
Well, thank you for meeting with me today. I'll start by saying I'm not asking for any money. So, you don't have to, you don't have to put me off or anything. Tell me that your budget's already set. Okay, so I'm Peggy Pratt with Juvenile Services, and the agency itself covers 17 counties in northwest Kansas, Cheyenne County being the farthest west. And the agency itself, I'm going to explain to you the access to Juvenile Services. So Juvenile Services is for youth ages 10 to 17, and it's for kids that have committed a crime. And it can be a misdemeanor crime, it can be a felony crime. So it's really any crime. Juvenile Services also works with children in need of care just through the intake and assessment program. So the intake and assessment program is a 24/7, 365 program that works when kids are in the custody of law enforcement. So how that would work with a child in need of care case, which would be abuse neglect, is that let's assume that a parent is arrested and the parent is going to go to jail. And let's say there's kids that don't have anyone else to stay with. Law enforcement would call our intake and assessment person. Intake and assessment would work with law enforcement in finding a foster home for those kids. They can find a licensed foster home, or a lot of the times in the smaller communities, law enforcement knows who can take kids. And by law enforcement can choose who to release these kids to. It's really up to law enforcement. Detention's up to law enforcement after intake, as is placement in a foster home.
Have you talked with our sheriff on this?
Work together.
Yeah. And the sheriff does call intake and assessment. So that's the child in need of care component, the abuse and neglect. And that can be any age of kid. So it can be a newborn up to age 18. The juvenile offender side of it is the side that we work on after intake and assessment. So on the offender side, let's assume that there is a big party bust and all the kids have alcohol. What the law enforcement can do then is they can give the kids a notice to appear, just a piece of paper that their parent and the kids get, and all it says is you need to call intake and assessment. What intake and assessment then does is they look at the system throughout the whole state of Kansas to see if the juvenile has gone through the system before. So how many arrests have they had? If they haven't had any arrests, most likely, because it'll be a misdemeanor crime, the intake officer will make a referral to your county attorney and say, I'm recommending an immediate intervention or diversion. Now, an immediate intervention or diversion is typically 90 days. The diversion officer, who is Kelly Dewey out of Atwood, will come here and meet with the kid one time a week or sometimes 2 times a week, kind of depending on how they're doing. She'll require them to have 20 hours of community service work. She'll require them to be going to school and to be getting a C or better in school if they have the ability. She'll monitor drug and alcohol use. If, let's assume that because it was an alcohol-related crime, by law, the kids have to go through at least an 8-hour education class, and that's by law. We now have an addiction counselor on staff, and so she can provide to the kids that 8-hour education class free of charge. She also can do the outpatient addiction services free of charge. If the juvenile is successful on this program, they don't have a criminal history. So it's like it never happened. Now, we can have kids on immediate intervention, as often as Leslie would prefer them. They can be on immediate intervention more than once. Because I like to think that, kids don't always think before they react. And sure that you.
Most grown-ups don't either.
Yeah. Well, studies show the male brain doesn't fully develop until age 26. Say 56. But
73.
Oh, okay, 73. I'll use that number now. Oh, you have one.
Elmer gave me his.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
I got 2 more
met
months
with,
and I'll
what
be
did you say
developed.
her name is?
Kelly Dewey.
Kelly. Is she out of Colby?
She's out of Atwood. Yeah, but she covers Colby.
Okay, I think I met with her on something like this.
Okay.
once.
Yeah, it very well could be. She's been doing this for almost 20 years.
Well, they do community service work.
Yes.
And so they might have been working with the recycling center.
Yes.
And that's how you
Yes.
met with Kelly.
Yeah, that very well could be. Okay, so the other side of the coin is the kids that get adjudicated. So found guilty, have a disposition, which is a consequence. Typically, those are the higher risk kids, the kids that have a felony, or maybe they've gone through the needed intervention or diversion program more than once, usually several times. Those kids on probation, the officer is Yvonne Vargas out of Colby. She will see them sometimes 2 times a week, sometimes 3 times a week. Kind of depends on their risk level, what's going on. She'll require them to do community service work again. She'll require them to be in school. A lot of the same conditions that they have on immediate intervention. However, she puts them on a curfew. She can put them on an electronic monitoring device. So that's an ankle bracelet, which is real time. Electronic monitoring devices are really cool, and I think they're cool. I'm sure the kids that wear them don't think they're cool. But an example of using it is we had a young man that was accused of stealing a bicycle, and he was on an electronic monitoring device on house arrest. He said he absolutely did not leave his house. So we looked at the screen, went back a couple of days. Well, he did. At 2 a.m., you could watch him go to the house where the bicycle was missing and go right back to where he lived. Law enforcement went there and picked up the bicycle. We had another youth that was supposed to be going to treatment. He said, I did go to treatment. He wasn't there. So there's no way for us to check. And I said, well, there is. We can just look at your tracking on the electronic monitoring device. So he had not ever left his house. And I said, the only way you went to treatment is if you left your ankle at home. And so he decided, well, maybe I didn't go to treatment. So the electronic monitoring device is really for those higher risk kids and for the kids that we need to really make an immediate impact on. Now, we can also use electronic monitoring devices in lieu of detention. So let's say that it's an arrest and law enforcement, they don't think the kid needs to go to detention because they're not a community safety risk. However, they could be a flight risk. They could be, assuming, I'm not sure that